Hello, girls and boys. I hope that you're having an absolutely lovely week. Welcome back for chapter 2 of The Phantom Tollbooth. So let's get started now. Before I start reading, I have a very, very special message from a very special guest. Here you go.
Hi kids! Hope you're all keeping very well and your families too. And I tell you, I've been doing lots of walks up and down my garden. But I hope you're all keeping safe and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you very soon. Lots of love from Mrs. Fleming.
Well, girls and boys, wasn't that just lovely seeing Mrs. Fleming there? So let's start with chapter 2 called Beyond Expectations. Milo has gone through the toll booth, and let's see what happens next. Suddenly he found himself speeding along an unfamiliar country road, and as he looked back over his shoulder, neither the toll booth nor his groom, nor even the house was anywhere in sight. What had started as make-believe was now very real. What a strange thing to happen, he thought, just as you must be thinking. This game is much more serious than I thought, but here I am riding on a road I've never seen, going to a place I've never heard of, and all because of a toll booth, which came from nowhere. I'm certainly glad that it's a nice day for a trip, he concluded hopefully, for at the moment this was the one thing he definitely knew. The sun sparkled, the sky was clear, and all the colours he saw seemed to be richer and brighter than he could ever remember. The flowers shone as if they had been cleaned and polished, and the tall trees that lined the road shimmered in silvery green. "Welcome to Expectations," said a carefully lettered sign on a small house at the side of the road. "Information, predictions, and advice cheerfully offered. Park here and blow the horn." With the first sound from the horn, a little man in a long coat came rushing from the house, speaking as fast as he could and repeating everything several times. My. Welcome, 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 welcome to the land of expectations, to the land of expectations, to the land of expectations. We don't get many travellers these days. We certainly don't get many travellers these days. Now, what can I do for you? I'm the weather man. Is this the right road for Dictionopolis? Asked Milo, a little bowled over by the effusive greeting. Well now, he began again. I don't know any wrong road to Dictionopolis, so if this road goes to Dictionopolis at all, it must be the right road, and if it doesn't, it must be the right road to somewhere else, because there are no wrong roads to anywhere. Do you think it will rain? Now, I think he's meant to know that, because it says here he's the weatherman. I thought you were the weatherman, said Milo, very confused. Oh, no. I'm the weatherman, not the weatherman. For after all, it's more important to know whether there'll be weather than what the weather will be. And with that, he released a dozen balloons that sailed off into the sky. Must see which way the wind is blowing, he said, chuckling over his little joke and watching them disappear in all directions. Now we know, girls and boys, that weather and weather are called... That's right, they're called homophones. Well done. Good question, he exclaimed, after Milo asked what kind of place is Expectations. Expectations is the place you must always go to before you get to where you're going. Of course, some people never go beyond expectations, but my job is to hurry them along whether they like to or not. Now, what else can I do for you? And before Milo could reply, he rushed into the house and reappeared a moment later with a new coat and umbrella. I think I can find my own way, said Milo, not at all sure that he could. But since he didn't understand the little man at all, he decided that he might as well move on. At least, until he met someone whose sentences didn't always sound as if they would make as much sense backwards as forwards. Splendid, he exclaimed, the weatherman. Whether or not you find your own way, you're bound to find some way, and if you happen to find my way, please return it, as I lost it years ago. I imagine by now it's quite rusty. You did say it was going to rain, didn't you?" And with that, he opened the umbrella and walked with Milo to the car. "I'm glad you made your own decision. I do so hate to make up my mind about anything, whether it's good or bad, up or down, in or out, rain or shine. Expect everything, I always say, and the unexpected never happens. Now, please drive carefully. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye." His last goodbye was drowned out by an enormous clap of thunder, and as Milo drove down the road in the bright sunshine, he could see the weatherman standing in the middle of a fierce cloudburst that seemed to only be raining on him. The road dipped down into a broad green valley and stretched towards the horizon. The little car bounced along with very little effort, and Milo had hardly to touch the accelerator to go as fast as he wanted. He was glad to be on his way again. "It's all very well to spend time in expectations," he thought, "but talking to that strange man all day would certainly get me nowhere." "He's the most peculiar person I've ever met," continued Milo. And I wonder, can you look up the dictionary and find another word for that means peculiar? Little challenge there for you. As he drove along the peaceful road, he soon fell into daydreaming and paid less and less attention to where he was going. In a short time he wasn't paying any attention at all, and that is why at a fork in the road, when a sign pointed to the left, Milo went to the right, along a route which looked suspiciously like the wrong way. Things began to change as soon as he left the main road. The sky became quite grey, and along with it the whole countryside seemed to lose its colour and assume the same monotonous tone. Everything was quiet, and even the air hung heavily. The birds sang only grey songs, and the road wound back and forth in an endless series of climbing curves, mile after mile after mile, until gradually the car went slower and slower until it was hardly moving at all. "Oh, looks as though I'm getting nowhere," yawned Milo, becoming very drowsy and dull. "I hope I haven't taken a wrong turn." Mile after mile after mile, and everything became grayer and more monotonous. Finally, the car just stopped altogether, and hard as he tried, it wouldn't budge another inch. "I wonder where I am," said Milo in a very worried tone. "You're in the doldrums," wailed a voice that sounded far away. He looked round quickly to see who had spoken. No one was there, and it was as quiet and still as one could imagine. "Yes, the doldrums," yawned another voice, but still he saw no one. "What are the doldrums?" he cried loudly, and tried very hard to see who would answer this time. "The doldrums, my young friend, are where nothing ever happens and nothing ever changes." This time the voice came from so close that Milo jumped with surprise, for, sitting on his right shoulder, so lightly that he hardly noticed, was a small creature, exactly the colour of his shirt. "Allow me to introduce all of us. We are the Thargians, at your service." Milo looked round and for the first time noticed dozens of them sitting on the car, standing in the road, and lying all over the trees and bushes. They were very difficult to see, because whatever they happened to be sitting on or near was exactly the colour they happened to be. Bit confusing. Each one looked very much like the other, and some looked even more like each other than they did themselves. "I'm very pleased to meet you," said Milo, not sure whether or not he was pleased. "I think I'm lost. can you help me, please? Don't say think, said one, sitting on his shoe. It's against the law. And he yawned and fell off to sleep again. No one's allowed to think in the doldrums, continued a third, beginning to doze off, and as each one spoke he fell off to sleep and another picked up the conversation with hardly any interruption. Don't you have the rule book? It's Local Ordinance 17589J. Milo quickly pulled the rule book out from his pocket and opened to the page and read, Ordinance 175389J. It shall be unlawful, illegal, and unethical to think. Thinking of thinking, surmise, presume, reason, meditate, and speculate while in the doldrums. Anyone breaking this law shall be severely punished. But that's a ridiculous law. Everyone thinks, said Milo. We don't, shouted the Thargians. And most of the time you don't. That's why you're here. You weren't thinking, and you weren't paying attention either. People who don't pay attention often get stuck in the doldrums. And with that he toppled out of the floor and fell snoring onto the grass. Milo couldn't help laughing at the little creature's strange behaviour. Stop that at once! Laughing is against the law. Don't you have the rule book? It's Local Ordinance 574381W. Opening the book again, Milo found that in the doldrums laughter is frowned upon and smiling is permitted only on alternate Thursdays. Violators shall be dealt with most harshly. Well, if you can't laugh or think, what can you do? Asked Milo. Anything as long as it's nothing, and everything as long as it isn't anything, explained another. There's lots to do. We have a very busy schedule. At 8 o'clock we get up, and then we spend from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock daydreaming. From 9 o'clock to 9:30 we take our early morning nap. From 9:30 to 10:30 we dawdle and delay. From 10:30 and 11:30 we take our late early morning nap. From 11:30 to 12 we bide our time and then eat lunch. From 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock we linger and loiter. From 2 o'clock to 2:30 we take our early afternoon nap. From 2:30 to 3:30 we put off for tomorrow what we could have done today. From 3:30 to 4 we take our early late afternoon nap, and from 4 to 5 we loaf and lounge until dinner. From 6 to 7 we dilly and dally. From 7 to 8 we take our early evening nap, and then for an hour before we go to bed at 9 we waste time. Now I think P4, you know who doesn't like wasting time. As you can see, that leaves us absolutely no time for brooding, lagging, plodding, or procrastinating. And if we stop to think or laugh, we'd never get anything done. You mean you'd never get anything done, corrected Milo. We don't want to get anything done. We want to get nothing done, and we can do that without your help. You see, it's really quite strenuous doing nothing at all, so once a week we take a holiday and go nowhere, which was just where we were going when you came along. Would you care to join us? I might as well, thought Milo. That's where I seem to be going anyway. Tell me, he yawned, for he felt ready for a nap now. Does everything here do nothing? Everyone but that terrible watchdog. He's always sniffing around to see that nobody wastes time. A most unpleasant character. The watchdog, said Milo quizzically. The watchdog, shouted another, fainting from fright, for racing down the road, barking furiously and kicking up a great cloud of dust, was a very great dog of whom they were speaking of. "Run! Wake up! Run! Here he comes, the watchdog!" Great shouts filled the air as the Lothargians scattered in all directions and soon disappeared entirely. "Ruff!" exclaimed the watchdog as he dashed to the car, loudly puffing and panting. Milo's large eyes opened wide, for there in front of him was a large dog with a perfectly normal head, 4 feet 4 feet and a tail, and the body was a large ticking alarm clock. "What are you doing here?" growled the watchdog. "Just killing time," replied Milo. "You see—" "Killing time?" roared the dog so furiously that his alarm went off. "It's bad enough wasting without killing. Why are you in the doldrums anyway? Don't you have anywhere to go?" "I'm on my way to Dictionopolis when I got stuck here," explained Milo. "Can you help me?" "Help you? You must help yourself," the dog replied, carefully winding himself with his left hind leg. "I suppose you know why you got stuck." And look, girls and boys, just showing you. There's Tuck. He hates killing time. "I suppose I wasn't thinking," said Milo. "Precisely," shouted the dog, as his alarm went off again. "Now, you know what you must do." "I'm afraid I don't," admitted Milo, feeling quite stupid. "Well," continued the watchdog, "since you got here by not thinking, it seems reasonable to expect that, in order to get out, you must start thinking." And with that, he hopped into the car. "Do you mind if I get in? I love car rides." Milo began to think as hard as he could, which was very difficult since he wasn't used to it. He thought of birds that swim and fish that fly. He thought of yesterday's lunch and tomorrow's dinner. He thought of words that began with J and numbers that ended in 3. And as he thought, the wheels began to turn. "Oh, we're moving!" "Keep thinking," scolded the watchdog. The little car started to go faster and faster as Milo's brain whirled with activity, and down the road they went. In a few moments they were out of the doldrums and back onto the main road. All the colours had returned to their original brightness, and as they raced along the road, Milo continued to think of all sorts of things, of the many detours and wrong turns that were so easy to take, of how fine it was to be moving along, and most of all, how much could be accomplished with just a little thought. And the dog, his nose in the wind, just sat back watching ticking. Very good, girls and boys. So that's the end of chapter 2. Now, I wonder if you got stuck in the doldrums, what things you would think about to help you get out of there. Milo had some very interesting thoughts. I'm sure you can think of something far more interesting. Okay, girls and boys, before I move on to the joke of the day, I just want to let you know that down below the video, I put some links to a really fantastic YouTube channel called GoNoodle. So to get in those all-important PE lessons, have a little look. There's some really funny ones. I've put my favourite one down below called Banana Banana Meatball. Get your moves going. Can't wait to hear how you like that as well. Okay, let's move on to the... Okay, here we go, the joke of the day. Why did the child cross the playground? To get to the other slide! Okay, girls and boys, my terrible jokes are terrible. If you do have any jokes you want to contribute, do go over to my discussion posts on the channel and you can help make the joke of the day much better. Look here, I hope you keep them well and I'll see you again on Friday. Bye!